The great chamber of the Galactic Council was quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Nuss stood at the center of the massive circular room, her dark suit looking plain against the colorful robes and armor of the alien delegates around her. She held a small data pad in her hands, waiting for the translation systems to finish processing the documents she had submitted. Above her, the holographic displays flickered to life. Numbers and text appeared in 1,000 different languages, each tailored to the species watching. Na had prepared for this moment for months. Earth wanted to join the Galactic Council, and this was the final review of humanity's qualifications. The counselor spoke first. His species looked like tall, thin birds with 4 arms and silver feathers. His voice came through the translators as calm and measured. Ambassador Na, we have reviewed your petition. Earth's technology is acceptable. Your culture shows promise. Your trade agreements are fair. Na nodded, thank you, counselor. However, the continued, there is one matter that concerns us greatly, your military records. She had expected this. Na kept her face neutral. What concerns you, counselor? Another delegate spoke up. This was Counselor N, whose species looked like floating jellyfish inside environmental suits. Your soldiers, the numbers cannot be real. Na frowned slightly. I assure you, all data we submitted has been multiple times. What specific numbers trouble you? The holographic display changed. Now it showed a single file, a military record. Na recognized it immediately. The photograph showed a man in his early 30s with short black hair and serious eyes. Sergeant Ho, Earth Marine Corps. The counselor's voice took on an edge. This individual, according to your records, he has eliminated 2,847 hostile combatants in just 4 years of service. The chamber erupted. Delegates from dozens of species began talking at once. Some made sounds of disbelief. Others appeared angry. A few seemed frightened. Na waited for the noise to die down. She had known this moment would come. Ho's record was impressive even by human standards, but it was far from unique. The data is accurate, she said simply. Impossible, the shout came from Counselor, a warrior. His species looked like armored reptiles that stood on 2 legs. They were considered the finest soldiers in the galaxy. No being could survive that much combat. Your soldier would need to fight every single day for 4 years. He would need to never make a mistake. He would need to be wounded and killed dozens of times over. Na looked up at Ho's file, still displayed for all to see. Sergeant Ho has been wounded 11 times. He has received medical treatment and returned to duty each time. His record includes detailed mission logs, combat footage, and witness statements from both his fellow humans and the aliens he fought against. Then your data is, the said flatly. This is not possible for any sentient species we know. Hold the Council record for individual combat effectiveness. General Nor eliminated 312 enemies over a 20-year military career. He is celebrated as the greatest warrior of the modern age. You expect us to believe your human eliminated nearly 9 times that many in 1/5 the time. The chamber filled with angry voices again. Na could see the situation turning bad. Some delegates were calling for Earth's petition to be rejected immediately. Others wanted sanctions against humanity for submitting false data. She raised her voice. I understand your disbelief. Therefore, I make this offer. Examine our records in detail. Send your experts. Review every mission log, and if you wish, we can arrange for you to interview Sergeant Ho directly. The chamber went quiet again. And several other counselors exchanged glances. You would submit your soldier to our questioning? Counselor asked. Yes, Na said. And if you remain unconvinced by his testimony, we can provide similar access to any of our military personnel. Sergeant Ho is not unique among our forces. That statement caused another wave of noise. The idea that this record was not exceptional seemed to upset the aliens even more than the original number. Counselor, a senior military leader, raised his hand for silence. Unlike, wore medals and carried himself with the bearing of a veteran. His voice was thoughtful rather than angry. Ambassador, I have fought in 17 campaigns. I have led armies and planned strategies. I have seen the best warriors in the galaxy. He paused. If what you claim is true, then we need to understand how this is possible. Not to challenge you, but because we must know what humanity is capable of, for the security of all council members. Null understood. They were not just questioning the data. They were afraid. The idea of soldiers this effective scared them. I will contact Earth Command immediately, she said. Sergeant Ho is currently on deployment, but we can have him here within a week. I suggest the Council assemble whatever experts and analysts you wish to participate in the review. The counselor looked around the chamber. He could see the fear and uncertainty in the other delegates. Very well. We will postpone the vote on Earth's petition until this matter is resolved. Assemble your panel members. We will get to the truth of this. As the session ended and delegates began filing out, Na sent an encrypted message back to Earth. She kept it brief. They saw Ho's file, sending him to Council Station for interview. Prepare him for hostile questioning. They don't believe the numbers. The reply came back within minutes. Understood. Pulling him from colony patrol. Will brief him on situation. He won't like leaving his squad. Na allowed herself a small smile. That was the least of her concerns. Ho would handle the interview fine. What worried her was what would happen when the council realized the truth, when they understood that those numbers were not, that they were, in fact, ordinary for a human marine. She looked up at the stars visible through the council chamber's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, Ho was finishing a mission, unaware that he was about to become the most talked-about individual in the galaxy. His elimination ratio, a simple number in a military file, was about to terrify the most powerful beings in known space. The council wanted proof. They wanted to interview the human warrior. They wanted to understand how one soldier could achieve what seemed impossible. They would get their answers, not just hope they were ready for the truth. The transport ship approaching the council station was small and unmarked. Inside, Sergeant Ho sat in the passenger bay, reviewing files on his data pad. Across from him, Lieutenant Jin watched him work. You understand what's happening? She asked. Ho nodded without looking up. The aliens don't believe my combat record is real. They think we're lying about the numbers. It's more than that, Jin said. She was nervous, though she tried to hide it. She had been assigned as his handler for this mission because she understood politics. Ho understood fighting. Together, they were supposed to convince the council that Earth was telling the truth. They're scared. The idea that one human soldier can do what you've done terrifies them. Ho finally looked up. His face showed no emotion. They've never seen real war. That's not fair, Jin replied. They've had wars, big ones, but they fight differently than we do. I know. Ho set down the data pad. I read the briefings. They use drones and long-range weapons. They fight from ships in space. They don't board enemy vessels unless they've already won. Right, Jin said. So when you describe what you actually do, how you fight, they're going to struggle to understand. The transport docked at the council station an hour later. The station was enormous, a city in space where thousands of alien species lived and worked. Ho and Jin were met by council security and escorted to a conference room deep in the diplomatic sector. The room was large and circular. A long table dominated the center, and around it sat the most intimidating group Ho had ever seen. Not because they looked dangerous, but because of what they represented. These were the military leaders and analysts of a dozen different species. Each one had studied warfare for longer than Ho had been alive. Counselor stood as they entered. Sergeant Ho, Lieutenant Jin, welcome, please sit. They took their seats. Ho noticed that everyone in the room was staring at him, not with anger but with intense curiosity, like scientists examining a strange new creature. Began, Sergeant, we have reviewed your service record in detail. Before we discuss specific missions, I want to establish something basic. You are 32 years old. Yes, sir. And you joined your military at age 20. 18, actually. I spent 2 years in training before my first combat deployment. An analyst made a bubbling sound of surprise. 2 years of training before combat. That seems excessive. Ho shrugged. That's standard for Marines. Some specialties train longer. Made a note. Let us begin with your first major engagement, the pirate fleet. According to your report, you were part of a boarding team that assaulted 3 pirate vessels. Your personal eliminations were 473. The room went silent. One of the analysts, with 6 legs and compound eyes, spoke up. Explain how this is possible. 3 ships. Even if each ship held 300 pirates, you would need to personally eliminate more than 1 pirate every minute for the entire assault. The assault took 11 hours, Ho said calmly, and the ships held more than 300 each. The packed their crews tight. We estimate there were about 2,000 pirates total across all 3 vessels. 11 hours, another analyst said. You fought continuously for 11 hours. We took breaks to reload and treat wounds, but yes, mostly continuous combat. Leaned forward, describe your tactics. Ho thought about how to explain it simply. We breached the hull of the first ship, went in through their cargo bay. They tried to hold us there with weight of numbers, but we used grenades and automatic weapons to break their formation. Once we were inside, we split into fire teams and cleared the ship deck by deck. Deck by deck, a general repeated. You mean you went through every corridor, every room? That's what clearing means, yes. The general looked disturbed. That is how you clear a building after combat is over, not during active fighting. For us, it's both, Ho said. We don't wait for the enemy to surrender, we go find them. The analyst vibrated its antennae in distress. But the danger, they are vicious fighters, they have claws and poison. Fighting them up close is suicidal. Ho pulled up his data pad and showed them something. It was a scar on his left arm. I got this from he cut me during the assault. I shot him and kept moving. The medic treated it later. You continued fighting while wounded? Asked. It wasn't that bad. I could still use my weapon. Jin could see the aliens were struggling with this. She spoke up. Perhaps we should discuss the Stronghold mission. That might provide better context. The analysts pulled up new files. This mission showed even higher numbers, 681 eliminations. A military expert spoke. This mission report says you assaulted a fortified base on a mountain. The separatists had prepared defenses for weeks. They had heavy weapons and good positions. How did you achieve these numbers? Ho explained patiently. We came in at night, used the mountainside for cover during our approach. When we reached their outer defenses, we used explosives to breach their walls. Then we went in fast and hard before they could reorganize. At night, they said, in the dark. We have night vision equipment, they didn't. And the explosives, another analyst added. You used them while you were also entering the facility. We breached the wall and went through the hole immediately, before the debris even settled. The room was silent again. Finally, Counselor asked the question they all wanted answered. Sergeant, do you understand why we find this difficult to believe? Ho met his eyes. Because your species don't fight this way. No, agreed. We do not. We use overwhelming force from a distance. We minimize risk to our soldiers. The idea of deliberately entering close combat, of fighting while wounded, of using explosives that could harm your own troops. These things are not tactics. They are acts of desperation. For you maybe, Ho said. For us it's just Tuesday. The human idiom didn't translate well, but the meaning was clear enough. What seemed impossible to them was routine to him. A general named Ren spoke for the first time. He was older than and his scales were marked with old battle scars. I have one question, human, the slave ring stations. You eliminated 1,203 enemies there. I have studied this mission extensively. You fought for 38 hours straight. No sleep, minimal food, moving through space stations room by room. The report says you were wounded 4 times during this mission. That's correct. And you never retreated, never to recover. We couldn't. They were executing their slaves. We had to keep pushing forward to save them. Ren stared at Ho for a long moment. Then he turned to the other analysts. I believe him. Several aliens started to protest, but Ren raised his hand. I have fought for 50 years. I have seen bravery and skill, but I have never seen dedication like this. Look at his eyes. This is not someone who is lying or exaggerating. This is someone who does not understand why we think his actions are remarkable. Nodded slowly. I agree, which brings us to the real question. He looked at Ho directly. You are not unique among your kind, are you? Ho hesitated. Jin jumped in. Sergeant Ho is a decorated Marine, but he is not considered exceptional by our standards. He is a good soldier, but there are many good soldiers. The implications of that statement hit the room like a bomb. If Ho was merely good, not great, then what could humanity's best warriors do? Counselor stood. I think we need to see for ourselves, not just hear about it, we need a demonstration. The Council's combat simulation facility was built into a massive asteroid attached to the station. It could recreate any environment, any battle scenario. Right now, it was configured to look like a space station interior. Long corridors, small rooms, and tight corners, perfect for testing close-quarters combat. In the observation deck above, hundreds of council members and military officials gathered to watch. The holographic displays showed every angle of the simulation deck below. Counselor stood at the center, his expression grim. The rules are simple, he announced to the crowd. Sergeant Ho has requested his fire team, 4 humans total. They will be equipped with standard training weapons that mark targets instead of actually harming them. Their objective is to capture the command center of the simulated station. He paused, letting the next part sink in. Defending the station will be 30, our finest station assault troops. They have never lost a defensive exercise. Excited chatter filled the observation deck. There were legendary warriors. 30 of them against 4 humans seemed like an obvious mismatch. The council expected to see a brave but ultimately doomed human effort. This would prove that the elimination ratios were exaggerated or that Ho had just been very lucky. On the simulation deck below, Ho checked his weapon one last time. Next to him stood Corporal Sung Ho, a stocky man with a round face and quick eyes. Private Young was tall and thin, barely 20 years old. And then there was Private Mira, their combat medic. She was small, with her dark hair tied back tightly, and she carried both medical supplies and a weapon. Thoughts? Ho asked his team. Sung Ho grinned. 30 should be interesting. They're supposed to be tough. Young looked nervous. What if we mess up? The whole council is watching. Mira hit him on the shoulder. Then we'll mess up in front of everyone. Stop worrying and focus. The simulation began with an alarm. The lights on the deck changed to dim combat lighting. They were already in position throughout the station. They had armor, heavy weapons, and the advantage of knowing the terrain. They had prepared for hours while the humans were being briefed. Ho led his team through the entry point. They moved fast and quiet. The first they encountered was guarding a junction. He never saw them coming. Young's training weapon marked him with a direct hit. This armor registered a fatal strike and he was officially eliminated. In the observation deck, the analysts noted the time. 20 seconds into the exercise and the humans already had their first elimination. The humans didn't slow down. They moved through the corridors like water, flowing around corners and through doorways. When they hit resistance, they didn't retreat. They pushed forward harder. 3 held with heavy weapons. The smart tactical move would be to find another route. Instead, Sung-ho pulled a training grenade and threw it perfectly. The explosion simulator went off. 2 were marked as eliminated. Ho and Young charged through the smoke before it cleared, marking the 3rd before he could react. Insane, someone whispered in the observation deck. They used explosives in an enclosed space. They could have hurt themselves. But the humans kept moving. They didn't seem concerned about the danger to themselves. They only cared about moving forward. The commander adjusted his tactics. He set up an ambush in a large cargo bay, 10 with overlapping fields of fire. When the humans entered, they would be cut down instantly. Mira was the first through the door. She saw the trap immediately and threw herself behind a cargo container as simulated fire filled the air. Young went left, Sung-ho went right, and Ho went straight forward. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The human sergeant ran directly at their position, firing as he moved. He used the cargo containers for cover but never stopped advancing. 2 went down to his fire, then 3 more. Mira appeared from the side, her weapon marking with precise shots. She was supposed to be a medic, but she fought like a soldier. They were caught between multiple angles of attack. Sung-ho came in from above, having climbed onto the cargo containers. He dropped grenades into the positions. The simulation registered 4 more eliminations. In under 2 minutes, the ambush was broken. 8 were eliminated. The remaining 2 retreated in disorder. Counselor watched in silence. His people, were supposed to be the finest warriors in the galaxy. They were being systematically destroyed by 4 humans who showed no fear and no hesitation. The pattern repeated throughout the station. Every time they set up a defensive position, the humans attacked it from an unexpected angle. Every time they tried to use their superior numbers, the humans used speed and aggression to break them apart. At one point, Young was marked as wounded. The simulation gave him a leg injury that would slow him down. Mira reached him within seconds, her medical scanner assessing the simulated damage. She applied a field dressing while simultaneously shooting at 2 who tried to press the attack. Both went down. "He's wounded but mobile," she reported to Ho. "He can still fight." And he did. Young continued through the exercise, limping but still effective. They made their final stand at the command center. 12, their best remaining fighters, fortified the approaches. They had heavy weapons, strong positions, and determination. They would not fail. Ho's team didn't even slow down. They came at the command center from 3 directions simultaneously. Sung-ho used the ventilation system to get above the defenses. Young provided covering fire from a distant corridor, forcing them to keep their heads down. Mira and Ho went straight through the main entrance. The close-quarters battle that followed was brutal. The simulation registered hits on both sides. Sung-ho dropped down behind the lines and caused chaos. Mira took a hit to her shoulder but kept fighting with one arm while treating her own wound with the other. Ho was marked as wounded twice. He didn't seem to notice or care. He kept pushing forward, kept firing, kept closing the distance. They fell back from his advance because they had never faced an opponent who simply refused to stop. The last 3 surrendered. They dropped their weapons and raised their hands. The simulation ended. Time elapsed, 18 minutes 14 seconds. Casualties, 27 eliminated, 3 surrendered. Human casualties, 0 eliminated, 2 wounded but combat effective. The observation deck was completely silent. No one spoke. No one knew what to say. Finally, General Ren broke the silence. "Replay the cargo bay fight." The hologram showed it again. The 4 humans against 10. The analysts watched as Ho charged straight at the enemy position. It went against every tactical principle they knew. It should have gotten him killed. "He charges into enemy fire," an analyst said weakly. "This is not tactics, this is suicide." "But it worked," replied. "Look at how they react. They expect him to take cover. They expect him to be cautious. When he doesn't, when he just attacks, they panic. They break formation. And then his team exploits the chaos. Another analyst pulled up Mira's performance. The medic eliminated 7, while also treating wounded. This is not possible. We just watched it happen, Ren said. His voice was hollow. He looked like he had aged years in the past 18 minutes. They did exactly what Ho said they would do. They went in fast and hard. They used explosives without caring about the danger to themselves. They fought through wounds that should have stopped them. Someone in the crowd spoke up. This was just a simulation, training weapons, no real danger. Turned to look at the speaker. Do you truly believe these humans would fight differently with real weapons? Did you see hesitation? Did you see fear? They fought like beings who have made peace with death and decided to die on their feet, moving forward. On the simulation deck below, Ho was helping Young walk to the exit. Sung Ho was laughing about something. Mira was checking her equipment, already preparing for whatever came next. They looked relaxed, like this had been an easy training exercise. Counselor realized something that chilled him to his core. For these humans, it had been easy. They had fought 30 of the galaxy's finest warriors and won decisively, and they thought it was routine. He turned to find Ambassador Na. She was standing at the back of the observation deck, watching quietly. He approached her. "You knew," he said. "You knew we would react this way." Na nodded. "I hoped you wouldn't need the demonstration. But yes, I knew you would struggle to believe until you saw it. That man down there, Ho, he is truly just average among your forces. He's a good Marine, solid, reliable, but he's not special forces. He's not one of our elite operators. He's just a regular soldier doing his job." Looked back at the simulation replay. "Then we have made a terrible mistake." "What mistake?" "We thought we were deciding whether to accept humanity into the Council. We were actually deciding whether to make you our enemy." He met her eyes. "How many soldiers like Ho do you have?" Ambassador Nuss' expression didn't change, but her answer made the observation deck go completely silent. "Millions." The council chamber was in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the overlapping voices. Some aliens demanded that Earth be rejected immediately. Others argued for acceptance. A few called for military action against humanity before they became a threat. Ambassador Nuss stood calmly at the center of it all, waiting for order to be restored. Next to her, Colonel Jinwoo maintained a military posture, his hands behind his back, his expression neutral. He was older than Na, with gray at his temples and the bearing of a career officer. Counselor finally managed to quiet the chamber. "Ambassador, you have created quite a situation. The council is divided. Some fear humanity, some respect you. None of us truly understands you." "Then let us help you understand," Na replied. "Colonel Jinwoo has prepared a presentation on human military history. With your permission, he will explain why our soldiers fight the way they do." There were objections but overruled them. "We need information, not more fear. Colonel, please proceed." Jinwoo activated a holographic display. It showed Earth from space. "My world," he began. "Third planet from a yellow star, we call it Earth. It is a beautiful place, rich in resources, diverse in environments, perfect for life." The image zoomed in, showing forests, oceans, mountains. The alien delegates watched quietly. So far, Earth looked like many habitable worlds. "But Earth has a secret," Jinwoo continued. "A dark truth that shaped everything about humanity. We have never known peace." The display changed. Now it showed human figures fighting. The images progressed through history: stone weapons, bronze swords, iron armor, gunpowder, modern firearms, each era showing humans in combat. 10,000 years, Jinwoo said. That is how long humans have kept written records. In all that time, there has never been a single year without war somewhere on our planet. Not one year of global peace in our entire recorded history. A delegate spoke up. Surely you exaggerate. All species have conflict in their early development, but you mature, you grow beyond it. Jinwoo shook his head. We thought we would. Many times we thought we had learned our lesson. We had wars so terrible that we promised they would be the last. We called one conflict the war to end all wars. It killed 17 million humans. 20 years later, we had another war that killed 60 million. The numbers shocked the council. Species measured their war casualties in thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The idea of millions dead was almost incomprehensible. But you have peace now, I asked hopefully. You have unified your world. Yes and no, Jinwoo replied. Earth has a single government now. We stopped fighting each other about 50 years ago, but those 50 years of external peace came after 10,000 years of constant warfare. You cannot erase that history. It shaped us fundamentally. He changed the display again. Now it showed training facilities, military academies, combat simulations. Every human society developed warrior traditions. Every culture created methods to teach fighting. We refined tactics over thousands of years of trial and error. The methods that failed got people killed. The methods that worked were passed down and improved. Colonel Jinwoo pulled up footage of human soldiers in training. The council watched as men and women ran obstacle courses, practiced hand-to-hand combat, trained with weapons. The intensity was shocking. These soldiers pushed themselves beyond what seemed reasonable. We train our soldiers to fight through pain, Jinwoo explained, to continue when wounded, to never surrender, to always advance. These are not special techniques we invented recently. These are lessons learned over 10,000 years of warfare. A general spoke up. But why? Why continue fighting when you are hurt? Why not retreat, recover, and return stronger? Because on Earth, retreat often meant death, Jinwoo said. If you showed weakness, your enemy would exploit it. If you surrendered, you might be enslaved or executed. So we learned to fight until we won or died. There was no middle ground. The display showed historical battles, humans fighting in conditions that should have been impossible: desert heat, Arctic cold, mountain heights, ocean storms. In every environment, humans fought. We adapted, Jinwoo continued. We learned to fight in any condition, to use any advantage, to never stop looking for a way to win. It made us efficient, but it also made us dangerous. Counselor understood. You are not naturally superior warriors. You are simply practiced. You have never stopped training for war. Exactly, Jinwoo agreed. When you stopped fighting wars, we kept practicing. When you developed technology to avoid combat, we developed technology to make combat more effective. We never stopped because we never had the luxury of assuming peace would last. Ambassador Nu took over. This is what we tried to explain in our initial petition. Humans are not aggressive by nature. We don't seek conflict, but we are always prepared for it because our history taught us that peace is temporary. Sergeant Ho's elimination ratio makes sense now, Ren said slowly. He is not exceptional. He is simply the product of your culture, a culture that has been preparing for war for 10,000 years. Yes, Nu confirmed. A delegate stood up, his feathers ruffled in agitation. Then you are exactly what we feared, a warrior race, conquerors waiting to happen. No, Jinwoo said firmly. We are survivors who learned to fight because we had to. There is a difference. We don't want war, we want peace, but we understand that peace must be defended. He changed the display one final time. It showed human soldiers helping aliens, medical care, disaster relief, protecting trade routes. Look at what Sergeant Ho was doing when you called him here. He was on colony patrol, keeping colonists safe from pirates. His high elimination ratio exists because he has spent 4 years protecting others. The mission, another delegate said, The one where he eliminated over 1,200 enemies. The report said he was rescuing slaves. 38 hours of continuous combat, Jinwoo confirmed. No sleep, minimal food, wounded 4 times. He did this to save people he had never met. That is what humans are capable of when we choose to fight for others. The chamber was quiet now. The fear hadn't disappeared, but understanding was beginning to replace it. The aliens were starting to see that humanity's military prowess came from survival, not aggression. Counselor asked the question that mattered most. Ambassador, you said Ho is not unique, that there are millions like him, but you also mentioned elite operators, soldiers who are better than Ho. How much better? Na and Jinwoo exchanged a look. This was the moment they had been dreading. Jinwoo spoke carefully. Ho's elimination ratio is 2,847 over 4 years. Our Special Forces operators work in smaller teams on more dangerous missions. Their ratios are higher, significantly higher. How much higher, Prest? Tens of thousands, Jinwoo admitted. Our most elite operators have elimination ratios in the 5-figure range, some even higher. The chamber erupted again, but this time it was different. Before, the aliens had been angry, thinking humans were lying. Now they were afraid because they knew humans were telling the truth. A small delegate from a peaceful species called the Prill stood up. Her voice was shaking. What do you want from us? Why are you here? Null understood the fear. She softened her tone. We want what we have always wanted, to join the galactic community, to trade, to share knowledge, to help defend against common threats. We are not here to conquer or dominate. We are here because we are tired of being alone. But you could conquer us, the Prill said. You must know this, your soldiers against ours. It would not even be a contest. We could, Jinwoo agreed. But we won't, because 10,000 years of war also taught us something else. Taught us that victory through force is temporary, that real security comes from cooperation, that the strongest fortress is one built with allies, not slaves. Looked around the chamber. He could see the fear in every face, but he could also see something else. Calculation. The aliens were smart. They were doing the math. You have given us an impossible choice, he said to Na. Accept you into the council and live with the knowledge that you could destroy us, or reject you and make enemies of the most effective warriors in the galaxy. There is a third option, Na said. Accept us and gain the most effective warriors in the galaxy as allies. The implications hung in the air. The council had enemies, pirates, separatist groups, hostile species beyond their borders. Having human soldiers on their side would change everything. What would you want in return? Asked. The same things any council member gets: trade agreements, technology sharing, mutual defense, but also, Na paused. We know we make you uncomfortable. We would accept restrictions on our military forces. We would share our combat doctrine so you can train your own soldiers better. We would provide advisors to help your defense forces. You would limit your own power, a delegate asked suspiciously. We would accept reasonable oversight, Jinwoo clarified. We are not asking you to trust us blindly. We know trust must be earned. Counselor stood. The council will vote on this matter tomorrow. We have much to discuss. As the chamber began to clear, approached Na privately. You know that some delegates will never accept this. They will see humanity as a threat no matter what you promise. I know, Na replied, but I believe most of the council is rational. They will see that making allies of us is better than the alternative. And if they don't? Na met his eyes. Then Earth will remain independent. We will continue to defend ourselves and our interests. We will be neighbors to the council but not members. We hope it doesn't come to that. Nodded slowly. He had fought in many battles. He understood war. And he understood that humanity, for all their martial prowess, truly did seem to want peace. The question was whether the council would be wise enough to accept them. The night before the vote, Ho stood in the observation lounge of the human quarters, looking out at the stars. Behind him, his team was relaxing. Sung-Ho and Young were playing some kind of card game. Mira was cleaning her weapon even though it was just a training model. Lieutenant Jin found him there. Can't sleep. Never sleep well before important days, Ho replied. Old habit. Tomorrow isn't a combat mission. No, but it feels like one. Different kind of fight. Jin joined him at the window. Do you think they'll vote yes? Ho shrugged. Doesn't matter what I think. The ambassador and the colonel will handle the politics. We just showed them what they needed to see. You scared them, Jin said quietly. That demonstration, the way your team fought, they had never seen anything like it. I know, they looked at us like we were monsters. Does that bother you? Ho thought about it. A little. We are not monsters. We are just soldiers doing our job. But I understand why they are afraid. If I saw someone fight like we do and I had never experienced war, I would be afraid too. Mira spoke up from across the room. They don't understand that we don't want to fight. They think because we are good at it, we must enjoy it. Do you enjoy it? Young asked her. She considered the question seriously. I enjoy keeping you idiots alive. I enjoy completing missions. I enjoy knowing that we made a difference. But do I enjoy the fighting itself? No, it is just something we do, like breathing. Sung-Ho put down his cards. My grandfather told me something once. He said that real warriors are not the ones who love battle. Real warriors are the ones who understand the cost of battle and fight anyway when they must. Ho nodded. Your grandfather was a wise man. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm. Emergency lights started flashing. Jin's communicator buzzed urgently. She answered it and her face went pale. Armed intruders. They are attacking the council chamber. Some kind of extremist group. They want to stop the vote. Ho was already moving. Team, gear up now. We don't have real weapons, Young said. Just the training equipment. Then we use what we have. Let's go. They ran through the corridors of the station. Other people were fleeing in panic. They could hear weapon fire ahead. The council's security forces were engaging the attackers, but the shooting was intense. Ho reached the entrance to the diplomatic sector and assessed the situation. The attackers had set up a barricade. They wore mismatched armor from different species and carried military-grade weapons. He counted 17 hostiles visible. There were probably more. Extremists, Jin panted, catching up with them. Mixed species. They don't want humans in the council. They are willing to kill everyone to stop the vote. Council security was pinned down behind cover, unable to advance. The security forces were not trained for this kind of direct assault. They were guards, not soldiers. Sung-Ho looked at their training weapons. These won't do much against real armor. We have surprise, Ho said. They don't know we are here. Mira, can you treat wounded if we clear a path to the security forces? Yes. Good, Sung-Ho, Young, we go in fast like always. Aim for weak points in the armor. Joints, visors, make every shot count. Move on my mark. They didn't have time for a complex plan. They didn't need one. They had done this kind of thing dozens of times. It was what they trained for. Ho moved first. He came around the corner low and fast, his training weapon already firing. The shots hit an attacker's helmet visor. It didn't penetrate, but it cracked the transparent material. The attacker stumbled back, temporarily blinded. Sung-Ho and Young followed, spreading out to create multiple angles of fire. The extremists were caught off guard. They had expected security forces to stay behind cover. They didn't expect anyone to charge them. Mira went straight to the wounded security officers. She started treating them immediately, even as weapon fire continued around her. One of the security officers tried to pull her to cover, but she shook him off. I am a combat medic. This is my job. Let me work. The fight was chaotic. The humans had inferior weapons but superior tactics. They moved constantly, never staying in one place. They used the environment, ducking behind pillars and containers. They aimed for weak points and vulnerable areas. One attacker charged at Ho with some kind of energy blade. Ho grabbed the attacker's weapon arm and used the alien's own momentum to throw him into a wall. The impact knocked the attacker unconscious. Young took a hit to his shoulder from an energy weapon. The burn made him grunt in pain, but he kept fighting. He shot the attacker who had hit him, aiming for the knee joint in the armor. The attacker went down. More Council security forces arrived, but they hesitated at the edge of the battle. They were not sure how to help. The humans were fighting in a way they didn't understand, moving through the danger zone instead of away from it. Sung Ho climbed onto a cargo platform to get a better angle. From above, he could see more attackers trying to flank them. He shouted a warning and started suppressing them with covering fire. The extremists began to panic. They were used to fighting security forces that followed predictable patterns. These humans fought like nothing they had encountered. When wounded, they didn't retreat. When outnumbered, they didn't surrender. They just kept coming. Ho reached the barricade. 3 attackers tried to stop him. He went through them like they were not there. His training weapon struck one in the throat, a vulnerable spot even with armor. He swept another's legs and shot the third at point-blank range through a gap in the chest armor. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes. 17 attackers down, some unconscious, some wounded. 3 had surrendered when they saw their companions fall. The security forces moved in to secure them. Ho checked his team. Young's shoulder was burned, but not badly. Sung Ho had some bruises from a near miss. Mira was covered in blood from treating the wounded, but none of it was hers. "Everyone okay?" he asked. They nodded. It had been a short fight, barely even registered as dangerous by their standards. Ambassador Na arrived with Counselor. They looked at the scene in shock. The unconscious and captured extremists. The human team standing calmly among them. The security forces that had been pinned down now free to help the wounded. "You stopped them," said, "with training weapons." "We used what we had," Ho replied simply. "Are the council members safe?" "Yes, thanks to you. The attackers never reached the chamber." Looked around at the evidence of the fight. "This will change everything, you know." The council members were evacuated. They saw humans fighting to protect them, saw you risk yourselves to save aliens you barely know. Na understood. The vote had been uncertain. Some delegates feared humanity too much to accept them, but now those same delegates had been saved by human soldiers. It was hard to fear the people who had just protected you. The next day the council chamber was heavily guarded, but the vote proceeded as planned. Counselor spoke first. "Yesterday, extremists attacked this station. They wanted to stop us from making a decision. They failed. Not because of our security forces, though they fought bravely. They failed because 4 human soldiers stopped them. Soldiers who had every reason to let the attack succeed. Soldiers who would have benefited if we had died. Instead, they risked their lives to save us." He paused, letting that sink in. "We have been afraid of humanity's combat abilities. We have seen their elimination ratios and their tactics, and we have been terrified. But yesterday taught us something important. Those same abilities can be used to protect. The same aggression that makes them dangerous makes them effective defenders. The same refusal to quit that makes them terrifying makes them reliable allies." Another counselor stood. "I was ready to vote against Earth. I feared what they could do to us. Yesterday, I was in the evacuation route when the extremists came close. I saw the human female, the medic, treating our wounded while under fire. I saw the human sergeant fight through 3 armed attackers to reach a trapped security officer. These are not conquerors. These are protectors." The speeches continued. One by one, delegates who had been uncertain spoke about what they had witnessed. Not just the demonstration fight, but the real combat. The way the humans had acted without hesitation, without asking for permission, without demanding reward. When the vote came, it was not unanimous. Some delegates still feared humanity too much, but it was close enough. Earth was accepted into the Galactic Council. After the ceremony, Ho found himself standing with Ambassador now on the same observation deck where he had stood the night before. "You did it," she said. "Not just the demonstration, the way you acted during the attack, that changed minds." "We just did our job," Ho said. "I know, that is what makes it powerful. For you, protecting others is just another day. For them, it was proof that we can be trusted." They watched the stars together. Somewhere out there, Earth was celebrating. Humanity had joined the galactic community. The isolation was over. "What happens now?" Ho asked. "Do we go home?" "Eventually. But first, the Council wants you and your team to help train their security forces. Teach them some of your tactics. Show them how humans fight." Ho nodded. "We can do that." "They are still afraid of us, you know," Na said. "Your elimination ratio, the number that started all this, it will be part of your legend now. One Earth Marine's elimination ratio, a number that terrified the Council." "Good," Ho said. "Fear is not a bad thing. Fear makes people careful. Fear keeps them from making stupid decisions. As long as they remember that we are on their side, a little fear is healthy." Mira joined them at the window. "Sergeant, the Council's military advisor wants to schedule the first training session. What should we teach them first?" Ho thought about it. "Start with the basics: aggression, movement, never giving up, the rest will follow." "Think they can learn to fight like us?" "They don't need to fight like us. They just need to fight better than they do now. We will teach them what we can, help them become more effective. That's enough." Young appeared excited. "Did you hear? They are giving us medals, all four of us, for stopping the attack." Sung Ho laughed. "More medals, my wall is already full." But they accepted the honors gracefully. They understood that for the Council, those medals meant something important. Recognition that humanity was not a threat but a valued member of the galactic community. As they walked back to their quarters, Young asked a question that had been bothering him. "Do you think they will ever really accept us, or will they always see us as dangerous?" Mira answered before Ho could. "They don't have to accept us completely. They just have to remember what we are capable of. Remember that we chose to use our abilities to protect instead of conquer." "And if they forget?" Young pressed. Ho stopped walking. He looked back toward the Council chamber. "They won't forget. My elimination ratio is in their database now, 2,847. Every time they look at that number, they will remember what one human Marine can do, and they will remember that there are millions of us. That number is not just my record. It is humanity's promise. We can be the galaxy's greatest defenders or its worst nightmare. The choice is theirs." They resumed walking. Behind them, the Council continued its work. New trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchanges. Humanity was part of the galactic community now. But everyone remembered the number, the elimination ratio that had started it all. The proof that humanity was different, not better, not worse, just different in a way that demanded respect. One Earth Marine's elimination ratio, a number that had terrified the Council, a number that had changed everything.